Makola was a town of secrets, layered in the mud walls, whispered between the clatter of market stalls, masked by the forced laughter of those just surviving. Adama, 26, was a seamstress. She lived in a one-room clay house with her aging mother and younger brother, Musa, who hadn't spoken a word since their father died in a hit-and-run 5 years ago. Life had taught her to work with her hands, not to dream with her heart. Every morning, before walking to her tailoring shop near the lorry park, she packed an extra serving of jollof rice and a small bottle of sachet water. She'd kneel beside the beggar. People called him Baba K. No one knew where he came from. His legs were twisted, fingers gnarled, beard overgrown, eyes foggy with cataracts. Children feared him. Adults avoided him. He barely spoke. "Eat, Baba," she would say softly. "It's hot today. You need strength." Some days, he'd grunt. Other days, just a nod. But he always accepted her food with trembling hands, always touched his heart as a sign of gratitude. And that was enough for her. She didn't know what it was about him that haunted her. Maybe it was the loneliness in his gaze. Maybe it reminded her of her mother, who sat in silence most days, haunted by the past. Maybe it reminded her of Musa, who hadn't laughed in years. One morning, the clouds looked swollen, heavy with rain. Adama packed a piece of fish in Baba K's meal, though it was a luxury she could barely afford. As she approached the mosque, something was off. Baba wasn't there. She looked around. Nothing. "Did anyone see Baba K today?" she asked a group of drivers arguing over a football match. They shrugged. "Maybe he finally died," one of them said coldly. Adama's heart sank. She searched the alley behind the mosque and finally found him lying under a broken zinc sheet. His face was pale, his breathing ragged. She knelt beside him, panic rising. "Baba! Baba, what's wrong?" He barely opened his eyes. No food, no strength. Adama didn't think twice. She removed her headscarf, rolled it into a pillow, and propped his head. She ran across the street, bought sachet water and warm bread with the little money she had. Then she sat and fed him with her own hands. He tried to speak. Why do you do this every day?" Adama blinked. "Because someone once saved me too." That evening, soaked in rain, she went home without dinner. Her mother asked nothing. Musa looked at her with curious eyes. For the first time in years, he placed his small hand in hers. The next day, Baba K was gone again. This time, completely. Adama asked around. No one had seen him. Days turned into a week. A week turned into 2. She tried to forget, but her heart ached. Had she failed him? One afternoon, after finishing a client's wedding dress, she received a letter at her shop. A boy in a school uniform handed it to her, saying only, "Someone said to give you this." The envelope was thick. It carried her name in gold ink. Inside was a letter. To the one who fed a dying man with food and dignity. "You gave me more than sustenance, you gave me humanity. I am not who you think I am. I never was. Meet me at the old Adama warehouse by the bridge tomorrow at noon. Come alone. K." Her hands trembled. Was this a prank? That night, she barely slept. Her mind spun with questions. Why would a crippled beggar write such a letter? What if it was dangerous? But curiosity gnawed at her like a starving rat. The next day, at precisely 12 p.m., she stood before the rusting gates of the Adama warehouse. It had been abandoned since the fire outbreak 8 years ago. The place was eerily silent. Only the sound of the wind whistling through broken windows. She hesitated. Then the gate creaked open. A man in a black suit, clean-shaven, stood before her. She gasped. It was him. But not the Baba K she knew. He walked upright, no crutches, no twisted limbs, no beard. His eyes, once foggy, were now clear and sharp. She took a step back. What is this? The man smiled softly. Forgive the deception. I had to know. I had to be sure. Sure of what? Who are you? He motioned toward a bench. Please sit. Let me explain. Still stunned, she sat. My name is Kahind Balagan, CEO of Below Tech Industries. I'm one of the wealthiest private investors in Lagos. Adama stared, speechless. For the past year, I've been living as a beggar in various towns. Makola was my final stop. I was searching for something money couldn't buy: humanity. Compassion. Not for a camera, not for clout. Real kindness. He looked her in the eye. You passed the test. Her mouth was dry. Why me? He chuckled lightly. Because no one else even looked at me. You didn't just feed me. You saw me. She was still trying to process it when he pulled out a small velvet box and handed it to her. Inside was a gold pin with the letters, ATC, Adama Tailoring Cooperative. I've already registered the business. A full workshop with machines, staff, and contracts. It's yours. You'll train young girls. Empower them. I'll sponsor everything. Tears welled in Adama's eyes. I don't understand. You don't need to, he said gently. Just keep doing what you're doing. And teach others to do the same. As she walked home, the sun setting behind her, Adama felt something stir inside her chest. Not pride. Not disbelief. But something deeper. Purpose. The sun dipped low as Adama sat quietly in her room, the velvet box resting in her palm like a dream she feared to wake from. Her mother, curious about her silence, peeked into the room, but said nothing. Musa, as if sensing the shift, lingered beside her, laying his head on her lap. Adama couldn't sleep that night. The man who had sat on the street corner, eating from her hand, was a billionaire in disguise. Her mind raced with disbelief. Was it real? What if it was some elaborate prank? But the next morning, as she approached her tailoring shop, the truth greeted her in steel and glass. A sleek black car idled outside her stall. Men in branded uniforms worked swiftly, unloading sewing machines, bolts of colorful fabric, brand-new chairs, and a sparkling signboard that read, Adama Tailoring Cooperative, stitching lives with purpose. The market froze. Stall owners, drivers, and even the nosy Auntie Bola paused in shock. One man whispered, "What's happening? Is she marrying a politician?" Another said, "Maybe she won the lottery." Adama stood still, heart thumping. From the car stepped Kahind, again dressed sharply, a quiet smile on his face. "Good morning, Miss Adama." Morning, sir." He chuckled. "Still unsure if it's real?" She nodded slowly, wide-eyed. "Well, it is. Today's the official launch. Tomorrow, a truck will arrive with more machines. You'll have 5 apprentices to begin with. They've all been selected from underprivileged backgrounds. Girls with stories like yours." Her voice cracked. "I don't know what to say." "Then say nothing. Just teach them. Show them the same grace you showed me." Crowds gathered. Cameras from local press arrived. Word spread like wildfire. Makola's beggar was a billionaire, and Adama, the tailor who showed him kindness, was now the face of a revolution. Over the next few weeks, Adama's life transformed. Where once she stitched by lantern light in a corner stall, she now supervised a busy workshop filled with laughter, music, and the rhythmic hum of machines. Her apprentices, Awa, Sarah, Aoife, Tommy, and Zainab, called her Madame Adama with respect, but also with love. She taught them how to cut, measure, and sew, but also how to speak with confidence, to walk with dignity. Her story began circulating on national radio and blogs. The seamstress who fed a billionaire. Invitations came pouring in for interviews, fashion showcases, and even a televised talk show. But Adama remained grounded. She still packed food each morning. Only now, she gave it to other beggars, some truly poor, others perhaps undercover billionaires. She didn't care. Her kindness was no longer reactive. It was intentional. One Sunday afternoon, as the workshop closed, Kahind visited again. He leaned against the doorway, watching the girls pack up. "They adore you," he said. Adama smiled. "I adore them too. They remind me of who I used to be." There was a pause. Then he added quietly, "I wasn't always a billionaire. I was once like them too." She turned, surprised. "I grew up in Ajigunal. No father. Mama sold oranges on the highway. A man once paid for my WEC fees when I couldn't afford it. I never saw him again. But I promised I'd pay it forward." Adama nodded slowly. "Now I understand. I see my mother in you," he added. "She died before she could see all this. But you carry that same fire." The moment grew heavy with emotion. Not romance, not flattery, just truth. Raw and mutual. Before leaving, Kahind handed her a sealed envelope. Inside was a deed. He had transferred ownership of the cooperative building to her name. "Your future," he said softly, "belongs to you now." But not all celebrated her rise. In the shadows of the market, jealousy brewed. Some called her a fraud. Others accused her of tricking an old man for wealth. A few even started rumors that she used charms, that the billionaire was her secret lover, that the whole story was staged. And worst of all, one night, someone broke into the workshop and vandalized the machines. Spray paint across the walls read, "Fake charity. Go back to poverty." Adama stood before the wreckage the next morning, devastated. Her apprentices wept. Neighbors gathered in silent shock. But then, something powerful happened. The people who once doubted her, drivers, market women, students, came forward with money, tools, even their own hands. "We will fix this," Auntie Bola said. "You gave this town hope. We're not losing it to cowards." Within 2 days, the workshop was restored. Stronger. Brighter. And this time, the signboard was replaced with a new message. Kindness is power. The rains returned in July, washing over the town of Makola like a slow cleansing. But this time, they brought growth, not ruin. The cooperative had become more than a tailoring workshop, it was now a beacon. Women who had never touched a sewing machine came to learn. Young girls who were mocked for being poor came to find purpose. Even Musa, once locked in silence, began drawing designs with charcoal on paper, expressing what words had long hidden. But the higher Adama rose, the more she began to feel the weight of responsibility. And the more questions began to fill her heart. Why her? Why now? Kahind had changed her life, but she couldn't shake a quiet unease. One evening, she sat with her mother under the flickering fluorescent light. "Mama," she asked gently, "do you believe someone can appear poor just to test others?" Her mother gave a long sigh, stirring her tea. "Sometimes the richest people are those who've lost something greater than money. Maybe he's looking for more than just kindness. Maybe he's looking for redemption." Those words stayed with Adama. 2 weeks later, Kahind returned. But this time, he looked different, older, more burdened. His smile didn't reach his eyes. "I need to speak with you," he said. Privately. They sat inside the cooperative office, surrounded by rolls of fabric and framed photos of smiling apprentices. "I've kept something from you," he began. "And I owe you the truth." Adama listened, heart beating slowly. I wasn't just pretending to be a beggar, he said. I was a beggar. Crippled after a business partner set me up during a deal in Ghana. I lost everything, my company, my mobility, my pride. I lived on the streets in Accra for 3 years. Adama leaned forward, shocked. One day, a woman named Hadiza found me. She fed me, washed my wounds, gave me money to travel back to Nigeria. She told me, your destiny isn't in the dirt. Rise. That woman saved my life. He paused, emotion rising. I spent the next decade rebuilding. But I could never forget her. I searched for her everywhere. Adama's breath caught. My mother's name was Hadiza, she whispered. He looked up, stunned. What? She used to live in Ghana before we returned here. She helped many people. She never spoke much about it. Kahine's hands trembled slightly. Your mother, he said slowly, was the woman who gave me back my life. Silence. The truth fell on both of them like sacred fire. Tears welled in Adama's eyes. So all of this was returning the kindness? He shook his head. It was more. It was completing a circle. When I saw you helping me on that street corner, something in your voice, your eyes, it reminded me of her. I had to be sure. I had to know if kindness was passed down, if grace survives hardship. Adama stood in quiet awe. Everything made sense now. Not just the workshop. Not just the blessings. But the why. Months passed. The Adama Tailoring Cooperative expanded into 2 more towns. A foundation was launched in Hadiza's name, supporting widows and war-displaced women with vocational skills. Musa spoke his first full sentence since their father's death during a community event. Holding a sketch of a dress he'd drawn, he said, "My sister made me believe I'm not broken." The audience cried. Kahine did too. Adama became a symbol not just of success, but of quiet, consistent kindness. The kind that didn't shout. The kind that simply was. 1 year to the day she first fed the crippled beggar, Adama stood before a crowded auditorium in Abuja, receiving an award for humanitarian excellence. In her speech, she said, "I did not give food to a billionaire. I gave food to a man who looked hungry. That's all I knew." We don't need to know people's status before we show them kindness. Some of the richest people are not carrying money in their hands, they're carrying brokenness in their hearts. And some of the greatest miracles begin with a single act of compassion. My mother taught me that by how she lived. And now, I teach others the same, 1 stitch, 1 girl, 1 day at a time. When the applause faded and the lights dimmed, Kahine walked up to her. "You've done what even I couldn't," he said. "You changed the story for a whole generation." She smiled. "I just did what my mother would have done." In the corner of the cooperative, mounted in a frame, is a faded photo of Hadiza, smiling, holding baby Adama in her arms. Below it reads, "To give without expecting, to love without measure, that is the true wealth of this world."